When kickoff times get announced, doesn't college football season just seem that much closer? You can kind of feel it. You can envision, okay, I'm going to plan my day out this way. And then those are good lead-ins. And then bam, can't wait for 3:30. Yep, that's what it is. August 31st, 3:30. You're going to want to be in a particular location, Miami fans, for a big season opener. Welcome into Hurricanes Live right here at the Voice of College Football. Cam Underwood, State of the U. Good to see you, Cam. How is everything?
Good to be seen. Glad to be here. Sorry I'm a couple minutes late, guys. Had 3 different immediate action items from the secret day job happen in the last 45 minutes, which is why I'm still wearing, you can't even see it because it's the color, but I'm still even wearing a polo shirt from the job today and everything. So a little tardy, but glad to be here with you guys. Glad to talk about the Miami Hurricanes, and a little upset that it's a 3:30 kick. I wanted that night game. I wanted that to be, that's just what I wanted. Now, the game is going to end under the lights because, 3:30 kick goes a little late. It's going to be into that 7:30, 8 o'clock hour towards completion. Hopefully we're playing the backups and everything up by 5 touchdowns by then anyway. But still, I do wish that it was later. I get that. Look, Texas A&M fancies themselves to be a big brand. And I mean, obviously everybody knows they paid Jimbo Fisher $82 million. Sorry, more than that, to go and not coach. I tried to use a big number and it wasn't even as big as the buyout, but it was like $109 million to go and coach somewhere else, even if it's on his own couch. And then Notre Dame, like them, love them, hate them, I'm in the last group for sure, is like the Catholic University of these United States. And they are a big, gigantic national and international brand. So putting that matchup at 8 o'clock, I get, could have had Georgia, and I say that excluding the other team, more Georgia than Clemson, in the 8 o'clock game. But I mean, look, we've had other games against, the Gators at 3:30. It'll be fine. 99.9% will not be going now because sitting in the heat in that swamp, I'm sure it smells already when you drive through Alachua County, but then I'm going to stay there all day in the heat and everything. I don't know about that personally. And especially because I might be taking a family trip for my birthday, which is only 2 weeks before that. And then hey, just staying down here. Anyways, my point is it's 3:30. That's the time that we'll begin the game when we whip their ass. And everybody knows that. So make your plans, everything. If you're going to be in Orlando and drive up, which, I would definitely do that as opposed to staying in Alachua County or wherever you are and drive over there if it's in the southeastern United States. Kickoff at 3:30 from Ben Hill Griffin Stadium as the Miami Hurricanes beat the shit out of the Florida Gators on August 31st, which, as you all know, say it with me, my cousin's birthday.
Wouldn't you rather have a 3:30 game rather than a night game on the road? That's typically viewed as a substantial advantage for the home team at night, especially Florida, you got to say, is one of those premier home locations in terms of a home field advantage in the swamp.
I don't think it's going to be that big of a difference. And this is a rivalry game. It could be played at 10 a.m. And I think that both teams are going to get keyed up. So I don't see the kickoff time being that big of a delta change. So, it is what it is.
We appreciate all of you being here. Leave a comment, question. We appreciate the contributions as well, starting with Falconer TRX. Super sticker, coming off a couple of contributions on the Florida State show. He actually made a respectable comment toward the Florida State saga from 2023 as we were in the midst of the debate there, because I was making just some points that from an optics standpoint, from the standpoint of the committee having autonomy to make a judgment that it could be decided that Florida State was not one of the top 4 teams in the country. That's all I was saying. I didn't say that they didn't get ripped off. I had them in my playoff. I defended their position. I think that you count the wins and the championships. Therefore, they should have been given that place. But I do not believe that they were one of the 4 best teams in the country. And so I respect that decision being made, or I at least defend it because they are in the position to say, we don't go by records and championships solely. We've got all these different tenets, and therefore we make a judgment call. And we also have a trump card that calls for a quarterback or a major injury that could be in play. So anyway, Falconer TRX stood up for Florida State and said they got ripped off. They should have been in the playoff.
Well, I mean, a valid argument, not necessarily one that I agree with, but yeah, man, dope.
Leroy, the Black Ninja Turtle, super sticker out of you. Thank you for that contribution. We do appreciate it. And coming down the line, we've got Falconer coming back with Falconer will be in the swamp. Okay.
Nice. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of the better color orange, because they do have an orange in their color scheme, but orange and green. So yeah, we will Miami Hurricane, like, no matter where we play, they might be a small in number, but like loud in impact whenever the Hurricanes go anywhere. Like, I know for a fact in, what was it, 2016, I know y'all heard me on the broadcast of that. Like, not even like, well, actually, there was another group that was louder together, because that's where most of the Hurricanes fans were staying or sitting. My buddy APD, he has a friend who lives in that area and has actual Notre Dame season tickets in the lower bowl. And so I sat with him in those seats. So well in the middle of the midst of the Irish fans. But I know that you heard me. I know that you heard me. And that happens no matter where we go, man. Like, there's only a couple. When we go to Tallahassee, even like last year and, losing in that game, it's, so many more of the home fans and only a couple of y'all. But you hear us and you feel us. And I know that that's going to be the case on August the 31st in the swamp. Hey, great for you, Falconer TRX, and everybody else who's going to go down up there or down from wherever you live. But yeah, man, it's going to be a good time. And as I watch from the comfort of wherever I'm watching from, I will definitely hear you guys cheering on our Hurricanes to victory.
Kim, you mentioned the color scheme and the overlap of the oranges, and I'm sure that you could be able to look at the 2 oranges and separate them, certainly side by side. However, that's a bit difficult to do on television or in a large crowd. So you being the thoughtful person that you are, and in this one instance, I'm not talking about in a kind way being a thoughtful person. I'm just talking about being a person of thought who thinks things through. Would you show up at the game intentionally wearing the green to distinguish yourself from the Florida fans?
Absolutely, 10,000%. Yeah, and I lived my raps on that back in the day when the Miami Pistons. Wow, my God, let me try that again. When the Detroit Pistons and Miami Heat played in the playoffs all of those years in a row, me being from Detroit and being a Pistons fan, like, I have multiple pieces of paraphernalia. The first year that they did the whiteout, I wanted to wear my white 36 Rasheed Wallace jersey, but I couldn't do that. So instead, I wore my blue 1 Chauncey Billups jersey. So in that way, like I said, yeah, I do live my raps. I've done it in multiple other kinds of places. So yeah, I would intentionally wear the green. If it was like a noon kick, I might wear the white. Even though I know that, like, white is kind of a ubiquitous color to every uniform combination. But yeah, I would intentionally wear the green to stand out and be like, yeah, no, like, we're the green. Or if I really felt like it, like, forget what y'all talking about, I'm wearing Miami Hurricanes orange. Y'all just got to deal with it. I could see myself doing that as well.
And you mentioned the number of Miami fans that typically travel to games. So Miami is a bit of a mystery to me in this way. So if we harbored or guess at the largest fan bases in America, I think we could name about 6 schools, and it would be pretty easy that they're maybe not 1 through 6, but they're 6 of the top 9 or something like that. It's pretty easy. Okay. And if we could run a poll that was a perfect poll, not just a poll, meaning we could talk to every citizen of the United States, every individual in the United States and say, do you like college football? Okay, you don't. See ya. Okay, you do. Who do you root for? And then they could prove that they're a true fan. They don't have to be an encyclopedia, but they're a fan. Okay. And then we counted them all up and we said, okay, Michigan, Ohio State, Notre Dame, we could add all the big boy. Miami would be wherever they would be. I don't know if they would be 8th or 15th, or they'd be somewhere in the top 10 or 12, I would think. Okay. I would think that they would be one of the schools that would have a more diverse in terms of geographic location spread out over the nation more so than most of their competitors.
Absolutely. And you see it all the time. I see it on Twitter. People, Marshall Thomas used to write with me at State of the U. He's left sports journalism and transitioned to sales. So, he's flying around and making deals and everything. And every once in a while when he pops on social, and he's from Utah, so he'll be out there and be like, hey, yeah, like, I'm in the airport wearing something and see somebody else and take a picture. I flew out to LAX, or I flew out to Seattle, SeaTac airport, or I'm here and I've seen people from like Boise, Idaho, and like Billings, Montana. And, that I've seen from all kinds of places, people on social being like, yo, I went to, oh God, I forget who it was. Somebody was like, yo, I went to Pope, Italy, Vatican City, standing in line, wearing my Hurricanes hat, and I hear somebody else from a couple hundred yards away, go Canes! And you're like, what? Like, we're over here going to the Vatican and like having that be a thing. Like, yeah, geographically, I mean, whether it's, domestically or internationally, like, yeah, like Miami Hurricanes fans are all over the place. And it might just be, a couple here and a couple there, like not a huge enclave, but yeah, definitely more spread out and diverse, location wise than many other schools.
Have you noticed that I've tried out the green Miami theme tonight?
I see it. Yeah, with the backlight and everything for the Chiron and the scroll. I like it.
Yes. We have installed the LED lights in the back. When I popped on the orange, tried to give it both colors, the orange was not quite effective and strong enough for people to distinguish. Okay, that's Miami orange. So I went with a full green there. All right. We do have some comments coming in here. We've got Mohammed, who says, Cam, are you confident our coach, aka Hulk Hogan, won't make the same airhead mistakes like the previous 2 seasons on game days? I'm very skeptical.
Well, listen to me, brother. I think honestly, like I was as mad as anyone after the Georgia Tech debacle. Maybe more so. Like when I was sitting in the interview room that day, I like literally, not figuratively or facetiously or like that. No, literally was biting my tongue in my cheek so I didn't speak, because it was not going to be what I wanted it to be. I think I lost my headphones. No, there we go. Got it. On that. But I think that we saw some development from him through. Can you not hear me?
No, we got you. It just dropped considerably, but it's where it needs to be. It was a little loud. I think it's fine.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yep,
sorry.
You're fine. You're good.
Got it. As I was saying, sorry about that technical difficulty really quickly. I think that even through the end of last season, you saw Mario update his process a little bit, specifically in terms with timeouts that he used and just other game management things. And I think that had to happen because there was such a spotlight on him after Georgia Tech. Like, WTF, bro. Like, you literally stole defeat from the hands of victory for vanity. Like, whatever, he'll deny it till his dying day. The only reason that you run the ball there is to try to get Donald Chaney a 100-yard day. That's the only reason you do it. And yes, Donald Chaney was down. They got the call wrong, But after you do all of that, everybody is looking at you. Everybody across the sport, not even those of us who are like niche fans and like had talked about it, and I wrote an article about it, and I asked Justin Tavio to evaluate it, and hearing from Oregon fans, and like not even those who are like super dialed in, like my mother is a casual, like very casual, but I love sports. I will always watch sports, so she knows a little bit about sports. My mother called me and asked me about that. You know what I mean? Like that's the level of everybody I'm talking about who's going
Being
to be
talked about during
watching.
the NFL games the next day, all over the
God,
place.
yeah. I mean, it was the talk of the sports world. But even so far as like, like I'm in my 40s, so my mother, extrapolate that is, older than me. So like you have people in her age cadre, and even without a connection to sports, who are like, so tell me, this Mario Cristobal or Christopher guy or whoever, right? He's doing what? That's the level of scrutiny that he was under. But I will give credit where credit's due. A small step is still a step. And I believe that maybe we did see him take a couple small steps forward in game management areas. It needs to stay there and improve further. Am I confident in it? No, because people have a tendency to go back to what's comfortable for them. And I do think that is, I think what we saw was in the level of comfort. And again, he had done something similar to that when he was at Oregon. So that definitely seems like it's comfortable and familiar for him. I am hopeful that with another year's experience, even though like he's in his 50s and been coaching for a while, with the experiences of last year, hopefully the being the laughing stock of the sports world, in like total inclusive, hopefully that was enough for him to say, you know what, I've gotten by on, gut feelings and I'm just watching Law and Order. What do they call it? The gut instinct and the hunches. I've gotten by on that, and I have to dial in a demonstrable, repeatable system now, because the hunches and the gut feelings and the going with the flow and whatever clearly hasn't worked. And it's similar to what we talked about with Al Golden and with Mark Richt. You have to, if you're not getting the results that you want, you have to update your process. And I'm hopeful at this point that he's doing that. It seems like he's doing it a little bit with roster construction, because he had to go out and, let's be honest, he had to go out and pay Cam Ward to come here. And hey, it's within the structure of how you build a team now, so fine, whatever. But you went and did that, so you got another NFL caliber potential quarterback like you had in Justin Herbert. You go and build mostly from the recruiting, from the high school ranks, but really leaning in even heavier than before on the transfer portal, updating a couple things here, maybe obviously doing things differently from a schematic standpoint on offense with Shannon Dawson, as opposed to what we had seen from a Mario Cristobal coach team before. But yeah, hopefully for me, the game management errors are, I won't even say eliminated, because I don't think that that's realistic, but lessened dramatically. I don't necessarily have faith that it's going to happen. I need to see it before I believe it. But I understand where you're coming from with your skepticism, because that makes sense.
I'm going to draw a very bad analogy, but this is the best I can come up with. And this is in no way a defense for Mario Cristobal, but this is in the small way in which I understand his actions in that game in trying to get Donald Chaney 100 yards. Let's say you're driving on a road that's desolate, there's not a soul in sight, and you just received a text from a buddy, and your response to them is going to be more effective if it's immediate, and there is virtually nothing that can happen wrong. But obviously we all know that there becomes a minuscule possibility once you draw your attention away from your driving. Who knows if there's a little kid that could come out of absolutely nowhere, whatever it could be. But it's so minuscule that the timing of it could happen that you think, I really want to get this text out. And I know it's kind of stupid, but it can't happen that something's going to happen, right? There is no one. Just like, what are the odds? The odds are minuscule that there's a fumble. How many fumbles does Donald Chaney have and how many carries in his career? It's 2% or whatever it is. And then on top of that, they lose the fumble, they don't recover. That's like a 50-50. You add all these probabilities together, and that the defense gives up when the defense had been rock solid the entire night and Georgia Tech had been awful on offense, that they give up a 75 or 80-yard drive inside of 50 seconds and all those crazy plays happen, the one on the sideline. And then, so he was incredibly unlucky as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things like, yeah, I'm, driving. Yeah. Like you're saying, just in the middle of nowhere the middle of Arizona, 2-lane road. There's nothing around. It might only be a tumbleweed, but then that was really Murphy's Law. I mean, that was worst case scenario at every single turn. However, to Mohammed's point, had he managed the game appropriately, came out and taken a knee, you don't even go anywhere near the room that has Pandora's box. You know what I mean? Like, you're somewhere else down the road. Hey, you're shaking hands already and celebrating, but we'll see. So like I said, I'm hopeful that the small steps in game management development that we saw in the fall continue. And then hopefully he either listens to somebody or somebody speaks up. And I get, trying to lead in a totalitarian way, because like when I taught, like, I'm not listening to you. Like, even when my students are like, yo, like Underwood, no, I'm the director. I'm the guy. Shut up. And then eventually, like, okay, like a couple times, more than a couple times, I was very wrong. And then it crashed and burned and whatever. And I would have to say mea culpa or whatever. But yeah, maybe the Mighty Mouse himself, Alex Mirabal, will get up on a step stool and scream at Mario. Maybe Shannon Dawson will keep that same energy for that he had from the end of the Texas A&M game, where he said, like, oh, run it out. Fuck that. I'm going up top. I'm trying to win the game right now. Keep that same energy towards doing whatever needs to be done to secure the win. Like, oh, we want to hand it off to Donald Chaney. Coach, we're going to go take a knee. Shut up. You know what I mean? That's what that would look like. So hopefully somebody who's not Matt Lee, because it seemed like Matt Lee was the only person on the entire program or in the entire program last year who like was dialed in. But even he like snapped the ball and like knew what the play call was. But like, yeah, so hopefully we'll see the progress made stick and also, engender more improvement. But yeah, to your point, he literally became the joke of college football. Again, Mo, even more than that, the joke of the sports world, like entirely, as well as like specifically to the world of college football. But like, yeah, it was even, again, when when my mother and like some of her friends, like her knitting group friends, her quilting group friends, are that's what I'm talking about. That's the reach that this had. Like the older ladies doing the quilting club at my mother's house in Fort Lauderdale, and I come over and I'm about, wait, oh, you like the Miami team, right? Didn't your coach Miss Beverly? Are you serious? Like, you're at, like, that was the magnitude of it. So hopefully that is what it was and not what it will be.
Yeah, I had those people in my life too. People that don't comment on sports ask me, what there was some kind of thing, Miami, their coach did something really stupid. What was that? And I was like,
Yeah,
really? You never say anything about sports.
exactly.
There were the national news outlets, the MSNBCs and the Foxes and the CNNs that never touch sports unless they're just saying, oh, the so-and-so won the Super Bowl. That's the only time they ever mention sports. We're mentioning things about the Mario Cristobal decision. Yeah. Falconer TRX, largest Miami alum club has been in Chicago.
Yeah, very true. Trying to see if they have an event when I'm up there in July in Chicago. But yeah, that's been obviously outside of South Florida, one of the largest alumni clubs. There's another huge one in New York because, South Florida is tropical, New York and New Jersey anyway. So people come down from up there to go to college and then move back up into that area. So that's another one as well.
We've got our buddy Jackson Johnson who says, Cam, what's your take on the Florida-Miami game being on ABC at 2:30 Central, 3:30 Eastern?
Yeah, just really quickly, I set it off the top and everything. But I mean, look, I wanted it to be a night game. I think it'll be, it's still a spotlight game of one of the three on that day, the Clemson, Georgia, our game, and then Notre Dame, Texas A&M. It fits, especially if you're looking back the last couple of years. I believe Florida State's been a 3:30 game for the last 2 years in a row. So having a rivalry type game in that slot for Miami works. And everything, and it just keeps the momentum of that opening day of college football going. Again, personally, I would have liked it to be a night game because that would have raised the probability of my personal attendance infinitely from what it is now, which is infinitesimal. Oh, look and see what I did with the words there. So I'm probably not going to go personally, but yeah, I'm down for whatever because I mean, look, it could be now, it could be in 10 minutes, it could be at 9 o'clock in the morning. We're going to go beat them at whatever time. So I'll be dialed in for sure, even if I'm not in attendance personally, but I'm with it.
The ACC meetings are going on right now. I assume somewhere in North Carolina, Charlotte, probably. So Florida State, of course, is waging its court battle. Clemson is waging its court battle. They've had a few stalemates and some things that have been delayed that have pushed the boulder down the lane. North Carolina's come out this week and been very adamant and vocal about its frustration concerning revenue. Do you have, concerning the Miami position, any advice for how vocal Miami should be? Would you want them to be more vocal, lay back? Do you think that there's a particular approach that they should or should not be taking in all this?
I think that we're taking the approach that there was to take. Dan Radakovich, Miami athletic director, was the first one to speak out at an athletic director and president's meeting a couple of years ago about this issue. And I mean, that's what smart leaders do. You put an issue out there and you let your underlings, the peons of the world, handle your light work. So we raised it in a thing, and then, Florida State says, hey, wait, Miami's right about this. We're not making the money we should be making. And then Clemson says, well, we're like Florida State, and that obviously, we should say that, and like we're like Miami in the upper echelon, and we're not making the money we should make, and they just go and do all the work, and you leverage relationships, clearly back channeling, and if you want to have the perception, not take the hit in public relations of like waging the battle yourself, you raise the issue, step back, see what happens. Clemson and Florida State are clearly, they got ants in their pants and bees up their butt, and they want to, do that and be loud about it and everything, and you keep moving. I think that this is very typical, and we've seen Miami take this same kind of a thing in their own internal operations relative to NIL. Because if you remember first, what was the one name in the world of NIL that we knew at the very beginning of this? John Ruiz, right? He wanted to be out there. He was doing interviews here and article features there and da-da-da. I'm John Ruiz from da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. While the real money and power was just over here doing the thing, shuttling it around. Now it's coming to Kane's Connection. His life wallet, John Ruiz's life wallet company continues to have sinking valuations and everything. And hey, whatever. I'm not pocket watching this guy. What I'm saying is he wanted the fame of being up front, and the rest of Miami, right? The power brokers from the board of trustees to plenty of other money guys, and trust and believe there are plenty of money guys associated with the University of Miami. I'm not one of them. Like, hey, whatever. But people know who some of them are, God willing. But they're like, cool. He can go over there. He can be loud and blustery, and we're going to be over here and do this. And I think that Dan Radakovich and Julio Frank, the athletic director and university president, are taking the same approach and saying, yeah, let them take the John Ruiz role, that being Florida State and Clemson. Y'all do it. Be loud. Be in front of people. If you want the fame of having the interviews, of being the litigious ones, getting the cameras at the courthouse and everything, y'all can have it, right? And what we're going to do, continue to build relationships, have conversations, work behind the scenes, and be ready for what's coming next. Because we can, insofar as like, Florida State and Clemson are leading the charge with, the lawsuits, whatever the fallout is from that, we're riding that wave. We're, in the connection to things, they're Daryl Johnston and we're Emmett Smith. You get through that hole behind Larry Allen, you kick out that linebacker, and then we're going to go and run the daylight. So you lead that way, and then we're going to continue and find success based upon what your part of this scenario was. So I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm perfectly fine with having others be out there and be the names. Now, if we wanted to be out there and say, okay, cool, the University of Miami is going forward with whatever, and yada, yada, I would be fine with that as well, because we, even without being very good recently, are still the bad boys of college football. So people love to hate on us. So, hey, if they hate them, let them hate and watch the money pile up. I'm fine with being the bad guy. Hashtag let's be jerks, all that kind of stuff. We're taking just a little bit more of a background approach to it, but I'm perfectly fine. Especially, well, at this point, I'm perfectly fine. But my continuing to be okay with it is fully contingent on landing a spot in the SEC or Big Ten whenever that shakes out. So I'm good for now. I'm good for tomorrow. I'm good for next week. But when it comes time that, teams start leaving the ACC, because God knows I hate it here. I hate it here. We've needed to go for a long time. I will not be okay if for some, infinitesimally small percent chance happens that Miami does not find a seat at the big boy table in the next part of reshuffling, which would be us, Clemson, Florida State, and maybe North Carolina leaving for, one of the other, one of the two money conferences. That is fully a requirement for my continued good feelings in this scenario. But the way that it is transpiring to this point meets my estimation, but it also needs to conclude in the way that I desire as well.
While Florida State, Miami, and Clemson are the power brokers in the conference from a football standpoint, what I find interesting, of course, it's founded as a basketball conference, known as a basketball first conference, and North Carolina is North Carolina, and they're one of the few programs in the nation that can kind of push like a football program this realignment and have a consideration because of their basketball prowess. And also, if the ACC loses North Carolina, even though from a monetary standpoint, some of the other schools might be more important from a football standpoint, almost symbolically, wow, that is a gut punch to the ACC. That's if you could select one school that is the ACC, it's the University of North Carolina. And for them to lose them.
Yeah, I mean, that's an existential issue for the ACC. If you have charter members like Carolina leaving. But hey, everybody has to do what they have to do. I think that Miami is in a good spot to find a shelter elsewhere, but we will need to see, especially because being a private school, we can't even really Freedom of Information Act anything or whatever. So it's really getting a firm read is difficult if you're not like connected with the day-to-day happenings. But yeah, I would say, and because of that, I think that we are able to, move, real G's move in silence like lasagna. I really think that we're able to do that more effectively being a private school than the public schools, which is why I think when Dan Radakovich said that at the meeting a couple of years ago, he was really like, giving the baton and saying, hey, because y'all have FOIA or FOIA on your side, so like people can request things, you can request things more, so like your whole transaction string is going to be more public than ours would. So making everything public would then put more pressure on the ACC. So again, with these public institutions doing these things, all the schools, including the private schools like Miami, are benefiting from it because it is still in the public light, as opposed to like, oh, well, this is, a legal situation between two private entities. So there's nothing to be gleaned. There's nothing to be said. This is all private. So I think, yeah, having public universities, do the dirty work of the legal process, I think does have a benefit, even for Miami, as not initially or primarily connected to it at this time.
Well, the four schools we're talking about, Clemson, Florida State, Miami, and now North Carolina, are gaining all the attention, and rightfully so. They're the power brokers in the conference. I find that less interesting because I know that they're leaving. I'm 90 some percent sure that the ACC is not going to withstand this, and they're leaving. Now, when that's going to happen, where that's going to be for each individual school, and how much that financial transaction is going to be in that settlement when all the dust clears, I don't know. Now, on the back end of it, looking at the very least of the ACC schools, if the ACC falls apart, I have little hope that Wake, Boston College, those schools are going to find a landing spot in power conference athletics. I think that they are going to be the next Tulane, Memphis, fill in the blank. They're going to be the best of the American Conference, and they're going to just be relegated to Group of Five status. What interests me is Louisville, NC State, those schools. And they have to be trying to determine, do we really push for a stabilized ACC that even if those four top schools leave, that we can stabilize it with 12 or 13 schools? And sure, we've lost a lot of money, but we can hopefully stay with maybe one guaranteed spot in the playoff, and who knows? Just can we stabilize this and stay with a national TV contract and all of that? Or, can we attach ourselves, if we're NC State, to North Carolina and get plucked up by the Big Ten or somebody?
Mm-hmm.
Or if we're Duke, can we attach ourselves to North Carolina? Or if we're whoever, can we attach ourselves, Virginia Tech, to whomever? Can Virginia Tech and Virginia become a package? And obviously those schools would, just like everybody else, rather be in the SEC or the Big Ten. So which way they're figuring out, are we going to have to play this? But if they figure out the Big Ten and the SEC really don't want us, although the Big 12, who knows? They seem to have a strategy that, we take everyone. We just want to be as big in quantity as possible to try to stay relevant.
Strength in numbers can keep you going. Oh, I am so very sorry. Please come on over State of the U and fan with us from now and forever. I believe one of those three events from the Secret Day Job is popping back up. So I do apologize, everybody, but I have work to do. So it's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. I will catch you guys next week. Thanks. See ya.
Thank you, Cam. Appreciate it. Cam Underwood, State of the U. Of course, be at State of the U. Pressing matters there at work for Cam. We do have some super chats coming in from Falconer TRX, and we also have a show at 8 o'clock Eastern time that you may be interested in. It's going to be simulcast both on the Michigan and Texas channels. They're going to have a debate over who had the best NFL draft in 2024. Texas, Michigan. Of course, Michigan had 13 selections, Texas 11, but it's deeper than that. And also it's much deeper than just, why would we talk about this 2 weeks after the draft? The two schools are playing this year, and the two are on that elite level, and it's a dynamic conversation. Again, Michigan, Texas, both channels coming up at 8 Eastern time. Falconer TRX says, jerks in public, secret agents in private. Falconer TRX, I tell you, you have a way with a phrase. You do, in fact. Mohammed comes back with this. We better get good at playing in cold weather. and that is true as well. There was a game at Boston College on the final game of the season. Miami did rather well, but I don't remember that the weather was that porous. That final game against Boston College, what did they win? Like 45-10? But yeah, there was the game at Pitt in 2017, the first loss of the season. There have been bowl games even played in Florida against the likes of Wisconsin about 12 or 13 years ago, in which Miami clearly did not want to be there. And so, yes, if Brett Favre can do it, Jerry Rice can do it. A lot of Southern boys were able to elevate their game to the next level going to the pros. It's funny how many great, all-time great NFL players in cold weather cities were guys from the South. Jim Kelly did not want to go to Buffalo. He opted for the Houston Gamblers. The great Miami quarterback wanted to stay in the South. Even though he was from Pennsylvania, he loved it in Miami, wanted to stay in the South, bypassed the NFL, told Buffalo, don't want to play for you. What happened? He had to play for Buffalo. He bit his lip and he forced himself to go, and he was forced to go. And then he loved it and he thrived. Tom Brady's a California boy. He played in blizzards in New England. It can be done. We've seen it time and time again. Tremendous players from the South. Joe Namath, Bart Starr, again, Brett Favre, and others excel in the cold. So, Muhammad, great point. All right, folks, we do appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Again, lock it in here. We've got other segments that will be released. And there we go. So, yes, maybe 46 people don't like the show. Please hit the like button on your way out, and please subscribe here at the Voice of College Football. And again, we've got a Michigan-Texas show coming up at 8 p.m. Eastern time on those respective channels. And then let's see, on Thursday, we got a Clemson show at night, and we've got all-time program rankings. So if you've not checked out the ACC, check it out. If I can find the banner to accompany what I'm talking about, there we go. All-time program rankings. We're not just spitting at the wall. We're just not throwing them out there. No. We're talking all-time winning percentage in the college football playoff era, winning percentage since 1970, winning percentage in the 21st century, bowl wins, major bowl wins, AP poll points, top 5 finishes, top 10 finishes, top 25 finishes, Heisman Trophy winners, major award winners, both sides of the football, every position, first-round NFL draft picks, overall NFL draft picks, conference championships, conference championship winning percentage, meaning how many times did you win in a conference compared to the number of years. We've got it all covered. Most extensive, comprehensive, all-time rankings you will see. Check it out. We've released the Pac-12, the ACC, the SEC, and the Big 12. We've got the Big 10 to do, and I intend on recording that either tonight or in the morning. Right here at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you being here. See you next Wednesday, 7 Eastern.